If I told you that sitting perfectly still in a 150-degree wooden box could basically mimic the physiological benefits of a moderate cardiovascular workout.
Which sounds completely wild.
Right, like triggering deep tissue recovery, regulating your cortisol, and, just flooding your brain with dopamine. I mean, you would probably ask where to sign up immediately.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone wants that instant wellness fix.
But what if I told you that exact same wooden box weighs 520 pounds, arrives in these massive heavy pieces on a freight truck, and is currently just like sitting out in your driveway?
Yeah, that is usually the moment reality hits. It is a massive commitment,
Yeah.
both financially and structurally.
Totally. The transition from that pristine, Instagram-ready wellness dream to the very heavy, very physical reality. That's where a lot of people just completely panic.
Because the wellness industry loves to sell this this frictionless aesthetic. You just roll out a yoga mat, you light a nice candle, and boom, you are instantly at peace.
Like, it takes zero effort.
Exactly. But the practical reality of bringing high-powered, full-body heat therapy into your home, it requires a lot more than just good intentions. I mean, it literally requires infrastructure.
It really does. Okay. Well, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are stripping away that frictionless marketing veneer. We have our hands on a really comprehensive 2026 review from pooladvisors.net.
Yeah, it's a great source.
It is. And it covers a true heavyweight in the home wellness space, the Sun Home Solstice 3-person infrared sauna.
Which is an incredibly popular unit right now. And, what this review does so well is it grounds all those glossy health claims in the actual day-to-day lifestyle realities of owning the thing.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is pretty straightforward. We are going to figure out what an infrared sauna is actually doing to your cellular biology.
Right, getting into the science of it.
Exactly. We are going to weigh those massive health claims against the hard science. And most importantly, we're going to help you decide if a quarter-ton wooden structure is actually worth, sacrificing your entire garage or basement floor space for.
Because before we even touch on the dopamine or the deep tissue recovery, we really have to talk about the physical footprint. You actually have to put this thing somewhere in your house.
Yeah, and the specs here, they are no joke. We are looking at a full-spectrum infrared sauna, and it's constructed from this eco-certified, kiln-dried eucalyptus wood.
Which is beautiful, but heavy.
Super heavy. And it's designed to fit 3 people. So the exact dimensions are 56.8 inches wide, almost 40 inches deep, and about 70 inches tall. You're basically looking at a 5 by 4 foot footprint.
It is essentially the size of a walk-in closet, just, made of solid wood and weighing in at 520 pounds. And it was actually named an editor's choice pick by WWD for its durability.
Which is great, but it immediately sets off logistical alarm bells for me. Like, if you're building a massive eucalyptus cabin inside your house and its sole purpose is to generate intense heat, my mind goes straight to the electrical panel.
Oh, of course, that's the first thing you think of.
Right, because usually when you install something like a hot tub or a heavy-duty kitchen oven, you have to hire an electrician. You have to rip open the drywall and run this heavy-duty 240-volt wiring. Are we looking at a massive renovation project just to plug this thing in?
That is the logical assumption, yeah. And what's fascinating here is how the engineers specifically bypass that exact renovation nightmare.
Wait, really? You don't need to gut your walls?
No, you don't need a 240-volt line at all. The Solstice runs entirely on a standard 120-volt circuit.
So you completely avoid the expensive electrician visit. You literally just plug it into the wall.
Well, with a very important caveat, it does require a dedicated 20-amp circuit. So if you look around your living room right now, most of your standard household outlets are 15 amps. They just have those 2 standard vertical prongs.
Right, the normal ones you plug a lamp into.
Exactly. But a 20-amp outlet, which is known technically as a NEMA 520R, it has one of those vertical slots shaped like a little sideways T.
Okay, meaning you can't just snake an extension cord from your regular living room outlet.
Precisely. You cannot do that. Many modern garages or utility rooms and basements, they already have 20 amp outlets installed for power tools or heavy appliances.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, but even if yours doesn't, swapping a 15 amp outlet to a 20 amp outlet is a relatively minor job for a professional, assuming your home's breaker panel supports the load.
And it absolutely needs to be a dedicated line. You cannot run this 520-pound heat cabin and your deep freezer on the same circuit.
Right.
Or you will just constantly trip the breaker.
Right, you'll be in the dark very quickly.
But the source also includes this very firm, glaring warning about older electrical setups. If you have an old, unused 240-volt electric dryer outlet in your basement, do not plug this sauna into it thinking that more power equals faster heating.
Oh yeah, that is crucial. You will instantly fry the internal electronics and completely destroy the unit.
Wow.
Yeah, it is engineered for a very specific electrical lane. It's highly accessible, sure, but it demands respect.
Okay, so we know a 120-volt, 20-amp outlet can safely power it. But trapping that kind of heat efficiently inside a massive wooden box usually requires, industrial seals, heavy hardware, and just hours of frustrating construction.
Right, the typical flat pack furniture nightmare.
Exactly. Yet the review emphasizes that the assembly is entirely tool-free. Here's where it gets really interesting. How do you build a 500-pound cabin that securely holds 3 human beings and a complex electrical array without using a single screwdriver?
It's actually really clever. It relies on an advanced panel locking mechanism. It is essentially this highly engineered tongue and groove system.
Okay, so they just slot together.
Exactly. The eucalyptus wood panels are machined to slide into these specific tracks along the base and the corners. They just lock securely into place using gravity and geometric tension rather than relying on metal clips or nails or buckles.
That is wild. It's like adult Legos, but functionally structural. You don't need hardware. You just snap the walls together to create an airtight seal for the heat.
That's a perfect way to describe it, yeah.
And speaking of trapping things inside that box, the review heavily highlights the use of low VOC, non-toxic materials, which, when you look at the wider sauna market, this feels like a biological necessity, not just some luxury perk.
It is absolutely critical. So VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, these are the chemicals commonly found in the industrial glues, the varnishes, and the treated plywood that they use in budget saunas.
Right, the cheap stuff.
Yeah. The problem is when those cheap materials heat up to, say, 140 degrees, they begin to literally off-gas those chemicals right into the air.
Which is just the ultimate irony of the modern wellness industry, isn't it? Like, people buy a budget sauna to detox, but as the temperature climbs, the walls literally start beaking out chemical fume.
It defeats the entire purpose.
You're sitting in a sealed box, your pores are completely open, your respiratory rate is up, and you are actively absorbing the exact industrial toxins you were trying to sweat out.
Which is exactly why Sun Home's use of kiln-dried eucalyptus and strictly non-toxic engineering is highlighted as a major pro in the review. You are controlling the purity of the environment.
Yeah, that peace of mind is huge.
And that non-toxic philosophy pairs directly with how they handle another invisible risk, which is EMFs, or electromagnetic fields.
Right, let's dig into that, because the Solstice packs 10 far infrared heaters. That is a massive array, pushing 2,250 watts of total power. The source notes that this is more than double what some leading competitors offer, and these heaters are rated for a 50,000-hour lifespan.
That's a lot of power.
It is. That is an enormous amount of electrical current swirling around you while you sit there.
And that introduces a real physiological consideration. I mean, any appliance, your phone, your microwave, your refrigerator, it generates an electromagnetic field, which is essentially a wave of radiant energy.
Right, which we're surrounded by all the time anyway.
Exactly. And in small passing doses, it's generally harmless. But when you are sitting in a small enclosed space surrounded by 10 high-powered panels for maybe 35 minutes at a time, multiple days a week, you are introducing chronic exposure.
That makes sense. It adds up.
It does. High EMF exposure has been linked in wellness and scientific circles to cellular stress, fatigue, and nervous system interference.
So Sun Home's use of ultra-low EMF shielding technology isn't just marketing fluff. It is actively protecting the user from that field.
Exactly. The shielding mechanically blocks that radiant electrical energy from hitting your body while still allowing the beneficial infrared heat waves to actually pass through.
Oh, it's smart.
Yeah. It shows they aren't just engineering for temperature. They are actively mitigating the biological impact of the electrical environment itself. And you even have a built-in Bluetooth audio system, so it allows you to curate this completely controlled, low-interference sensory space.
So you can literally throw on a deep dive, shut the heavy wooden door, and disconnect entirely from the world.
Sounds perfect.
Right. But let's transition from the physics of the box to the biology of the heat, because this is where the wellness industry can get incredibly loud. I mean, the ultra-low EMFs and the massive 2250-watt array sound fantastic on a spec sheet. But how does infrared heat actually deliver on these massive health claims?
Well, to understand the benefits, we really have to draw a clear distinction between ambient heat and radiant heat.
Okay, Break that down for us.
So a traditional sauna uses a central heating element, like hot rocks, to warm the air in the room. And then that ambient air eventually gets hot enough to warm your skin. It is very much an outside-in approach.
Which is why traditional saunas get so punishingly hot, right? You are basically sitting in a wooden oven, just enduring an ambient air temperature that peaks at around, 212 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah, it's an extreme environment. It can be a lot for people.
Oh.
Infrared saunas, however, operate entirely differently. Far infrared, or FIR, uses specific invisible wavelengths of light.
Light instead of just hot air.
Exactly. The review points to some Harvard-affiliated research explaining that these FIR wavelengths actually match the resonant frequency of the water molecules inside our bodies.
Wait, so what does that actually mean in practice?
It means that instead of just heating the air around you, these light waves penetrate deeply into your tissue, causing your actual water molecules to vibrate and generate heat from within.
Wow. So it's literally an inside-out heat. You are warming the muscle tissue directly, not just baking your skin.
Exactly. And because it penetrates up to 1.5 inches into the body, it can effectively dilate blood vessels, improve circulation, and support muscle recovery at much, much lower ambient temperatures. The Solstice only operates between 120 and 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which makes the physiological experience far more tolerable. Like, you don't feel like your face is melting off, which means you can stay in there longer to trigger those deeper benefits.
Right, you get a deeper sweat without the agony.
And Sun Home claims some pretty amazing things happen during that time. They cite stress and sleep support by, regulating cortisol levels. They talk about reducing systemic pain and inflammation, even mood support, triggering the release of dopamine and serotonin. But how does mild heat actually do all of that?
Well, it comes down to biohacking your body's stress response. As that inside-out heat raises your core temperature, your body undergoes this controlled, mild heat stress.
Kind of like exercising.
Very similar, yeah. Your cardiovascular system starts working harder to pump blood to the skin to cool you down, and that elevates your heart rate. Simultaneously, the brain releases endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin to cope with the physical stress of the heat.
Okay, I'm tracking.
Then, as you finish the session and step out, your nervous system shifts from a sympathetic fight-or-flight state into a parasympathetic rest-and-digest state, which actively lowers your cortisol levels.
So you are intentionally stressing the system to force it to deeply relax afterward. That makes total sense. But then the review throws this massive statistical curveball out there.
Oh, the Finnish study.
Yes. It cites this famous 20-year Finnish study of over 2,300 men, which found that participants who used a sauna 4 to 7 times a week had a 66% lower risk of dementia and a 65% lower risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, it is arguably the most famous study in the wellness world. It really puts sauna use on the map for longevity.
So what does this all mean for you as a listener? Like, if you buy this exact 120-volt eucalyptus box for your garage, are you absolutely guaranteed to slash your Alzheimer's risk by 2/3? I feel like we need to heavily pump the brakes on the marketing here.
We absolutely do. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to scrutinize the methodology of that Finnish study. And to its credit, the review is very careful to include a major caveat for the buyer.
Which is?
That 20-year data set was based entirely on traditional Finnish saunas.
The ones hitting 212 degrees.
Yes, the scorching hot models. The traditional models induce an immediate, massive heat shock to the system because of those extreme surface temperatures, and that triggers the release of very specific proteins called heat shock proteins. Infrared, on the other hand, induces a deeper tissue sweat, sure, but at a much lower temperature.
So the marketing is essentially borrowing the long-term homework of traditional saunas and just sort of applying it to infrared technology.
In a way, yes, they are. I mean, both mechanisms are incredibly beneficial for circulation, joint relief, and systemic relaxation. But you cannot just blindly map a 65% Alzheimer's risk reduction onto a fundamentally different heating technology.
Right, because the trigger is different.
Exactly. The long-term magnitude of these specific neurocognitive benefits for infrared units simply hasn't been established in 20-year large-scale data yet. We know infrared is good for you, but we just don't have the decades of data to claim it prevents dementia in the exact same way.
And that is a vital distinction for you to keep in mind as a buyer. You are still getting the joint relief, the cardiovascular workout mimicry, the deep tissue recovery, and that dopamine hit. But don't expect it to magically replicate the biological shock of a 200-degree sweat lodge.
Exactly. Managing expectations is key.
Which actually brings us perfectly to the reality check portion of this deep dive. We've talked about the science, we've talked about the specs, but how does this massive unit actually perform for the real people who have integrated it into their daily lives?
Well, the review is remarkably transparent here, breaking down the pros and cons really clearly. On the pro side, you have that brilliant tool-free setup, the low EMF shielding, the eco-certified non-toxic build, and, its capacity to comfortably fit a family of 3.
Right, all the heavy hitters.
Yeah, and it even earned an editor's choice pick by WWD for its durability and energy-efficient design.
But the cons are structural, and they're very real. You are locked into needing that dedicated 120-volt, 20-amp circuit. You need a massive 5 by 4 foot block of space in your home. And crucially, the review notes that at the time of writing, there were only 2 public customer reviews available for it.
Which introduces a genuine leap of faith for the buyer. I mean, we know those 10 heaters are theoretically rated for 50,000 hours, but without a massive pool of long-term data, we just don't know how the control panels, the Bluetooth system, or the eucalyptus wood itself holds up after, say, 3 or 4 years of daily thermal expansion and contraction.
A fair point. Let's look at the lifestyle reality from the 2 reviews we do have, though. We have a user named Robert S., who praised the video guide. He noted he assembled it in a few hours without any frustration. He loved the convenient app, and he specifically stated it heats up quickly.
Okay, pretty glowing.
Very. But then you have a user named Golfer Mom. Now, she praised the beautiful aesthetics and the lighting, but explicitly pointed out that it takes a, quote, couple of hours to reach those higher 140-degree temperatures.
Yeah, it's a glaring contradiction on paper.
Right. The company touts a 2250-watt heater array specifically designed for shorter wait times. Robert says it's fast. Golfer Mom says it takes 2 hours. So, as a buyer looking to place into a busy schedule, is it actually fast or is it slow?
Well, this highlights one of the most misunderstood realities of infrared saunas, and the reviewer validates your catch perfectly here. The heat-up time is almost entirely dictated by the ambient room temperature where the sauna is physically located.
Wait, because it's heating the physical objects, not just the air inside the box.
Exactly. Think about the thermal mass of 520 pounds of dense eucalyptus wood. If you install this sauna in a well-insulated, climate-controlled spare bedroom on your second floor that comfortably sits at 72 degrees all day long, those heaters have a massive head start.
Right, it's already halfway there.
Right. It will heat up relatively fast, just like Robert experienced.
But if you drag this massive box into an uninsulated garage with a freezing concrete floor in the middle of January...
Oh, you're starting at an ambient temperature of maybe 40 degrees. And in that scenario, even 2,250 watts of power are going to seriously struggle to raise that heavy, freezing wooden interior up to 140 degrees quickly.
It has to thaw the wood first.
Literally. It will take a couple of hours. So, as the review advises, you have to realistically plan your wellness routine around your environment.
So you can't just finish a hard run, tap the app on your phone, and expect to step into a perfectly preheated sanctuary 5 minutes later.
Not if it's in a cold garage, no.
You really have to treat this like preheating an oven for a slow roast, not just popping a slice of bread into a toaster. You need a bit of foresight.
Which leads us directly to the final verdict. When you balance this heavy footprint, the specific electrical needs, and the deliberate heat-up times against those highly premium features like the tool-free build and the non-toxic tech, who is the ideal candidate for the Solstice.
Well, according to the source, the ideal buyer is pretty specific. This is really designed for households of 2 to 3 people who actually want a sauna together, or a single user who just wants the absolute luxury of lying completely flat during a session.
Which does sound amazing.
Oh, totally. But you absolutely must be a homeowner with plenty of floor space. It's tailored for health-conscious buyers who prioritize low EMF and non-toxic materials. And frankly, it is an absolute godsend for people who just hate complicated furniture assembly.
On the flip side, the boundaries are very clear. If you are an apartment dweller, forget it. I mean, wrestling a 520-pound shipment up 3 flights of stairs is just a logistical nightmare.
I can't even imagine.
Right. It's also not for someone looking for a compact, corner-friendly one-person unit or someone chasing the blistering 212-degree surface heat of a traditional 240-volt sauna.
Yeah. As for pricing, you'll have to verify the current numbers directly on their site, along with the specifics of their warranty terms, since they aren't publicly listed in the review material. But looking at the overall picture, based on the specs we've parsed today, the eco-certified wood, the massive double wattage heater array, and the incredibly thoughtful tech inclusions, it delivers a very solid premium experience. If you have the floor space and that dedicated 20-amp outlet, it really is a fantastic choice.
I completely agree. It systematically removes a lot of the structural friction from home wellness. There are no tools, no toxic off-gassing, no harsh 212-degree surface burns. It's just a very considered, biologically safe design for a modern home.
In fact, if you've been mentally measuring out a 5x4 square in your basement while listening to this, and this sounds like the perfect fit for your home wellness routine, you can purchase the Sun Home Solstice directly right now by clicking the link in the description below. Having a dedicated, non-toxic space in your own home to disconnect, physically sweat out the tension of the day, and just listen to a deep dive like this one. I mean, it is a pretty incredible investment in your own daily peace of mind.
This raises an important question, though. Something for you to consider while you're in there, letting that infrared light do its work.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we spent time discussing how traditional saunas rely on that blistering surface heat to trigger those massive dementia-reducing health benefits found in the 20-year Finnish study.
Right.
But far infrared uses a lower, more tolerable heat that penetrates deeply, physically vibrating the water molecules inside your tissues. Could the biological stress response be completely different?
I see where you're going.
Is it possible that deep tissue infrared heat is unlocking a completely separate set of long-term cellular health benefits, maybe targeting different metabolic pathways entirely that we simply just haven't run 20-year studies on yet?
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant thought.
Huh.
We might be comparing apples and oranges, and the long-term benefits of the oranges just haven't been fully mapped by science yet. That is definitely something for you to mull over the next time you're sweating it out. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.